Being two people seemed like such a great idea back then.
A thing of beauty in its day, but...
Tell you what, sooner or later, even the party in the back has to end.
It's official, guys! Hannah Montana is back as of 3 a.m. East Coast time. Not that I know that for any particular reason, it's just that I've been waiting for it. Yes, Hannah Montana has been through a lot over the past 20 years, which is crazy considering that's when the show aired, and it only aired for 3 seasons. Yeah, we have 20 years of behind-the-scenes archival footage, old songs, and interpersonal relationships to dive into, and this special is 58 minutes. Okay, I really wanted this special to be 2 hours, but hey, whatever, 58 minutes, I'm sure that's enough time to fit in every single thing I need to see in order to move on with my life. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I do love the show, movie, songs, album, and actor portraying Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus. So there's a lot for me to uncover with this special. We might as well just dive on into it. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, focusing on 2000s movies, media, TV, and so much more. And of course, Hannah Montana, one of the closest shows to my heart, as it's one of the shows that got me started on this channel. You know, doing the season retrospectives all in a row, like, it definitely was a life-changing experience for me to go back to this show 20 years later. And of course, it has to be similar for young Miley Cyrus. I mean, she grew up down south and moved to Hollywood just to get this, like, big lifetime role. And as you can see, it affected not only her, but her family, her co-star, and everything has changed since. Stick around, because after we talk about the special, I kind of want to go into my favorite behind-the-scenes information about the first season. If you're not new to my channel, then you could definitely skip this part, but I do really think the inception and mysteries that went behind Miley even getting this show, and the show getting picked up off the ground based on That's So Raven even, like, that's stuff we want to talk about later, so please stick around for that. But for now, I really want to go over this new special. I've been waiting for months for this to come out, and my expectations for new music, my expectations for seeing the cast return, even understanding the relationships, and a little bit deeper than I did the first time would be outstanding. But hey, expectations are really hard, especially to have for some of these things. As a YouTuber that's been going over a lot of revivals lately, like, for example, the iCarly reboot, the Wizards of Waverly Place reboot, I've delved a lot into bringing back nostalgia and finding a way to make it work pretty creatively in storylines. And it's given me a lot of optimism toward ways to do that. Like, I feel like a lot of shows pull it off in really impressive ways that haven't necessarily disparaged the entire legacy they built up. And I knew Hannah Montana wouldn't do that at all because, you know, they just wouldn't, like, make it that cheesy or, like, throw it all out for nothing. Like, they actually wanted to take their time, put this together, and create something that's really special for us that doesn't necessarily overshadow anything that we should be proud of. I mean, then again, it is impossible to do that. We've got a show, a movie, and albums. Like, there's just so much that happened over that 4 or 5 year span of Hannah Montana that we can't even cover it all. But yeah, so let's jump into it. I did want to take a second to talk about all the positive stuff too, because honestly, like, this show just brought back so many memories, and seeing all this old footage aligned with how Miley looks now, it's just so sweet. And, like, I feel like I could have talked a lot more about what I did like, but it's really hard because 58 minutes is not enough time, guys. Like, that's already 10-15 minutes of that a song, so then 40 minutes of that is just her talking, and then obviously we have some interviews, and even Chappell Roan having some, like, interviews to herself. Yeah, it made it harder to give more Miley time. Hey, that's just more complaining. I'm sorry, guys. Now let's talk about the songs, okay? So it starts off super strong. The whole special starts to Best of Both Worlds, which we couldn't have possibly done without. Thank God they did that one, because that would have been weird. Song. And thank God they did the extended version, because I really needed that at a time like this. I mean, just seeing Hannah fully address Miley and her pop star life, like, at the same time, I don't know why, it's just so sweet to see it all come back together. Like, the outfits are so nostalgic, the things that they chose for Hannah to wear. Maybe this, like, whole new wig is very season 5 of Hannah Montana if it were to happen, and that's something I'm really glad that the art direction and the wardrobe took into account when doing this. I'm so curious to know if, like, they were the same ones from the original show. This Is the Life, which is such a specific pick, and it's really nice that Miley, like, chose this one out of all of them from the first album to kind of come in on. There's something really humble and, like, comforting about hearing her new voice sing this, like, really old song, especially considering that, like, she was the one who wrote the original. Like, there's something really cathartic about it. And I really love the backdrop of having the original Hannah lights, having the dancers be all a part of it, showing just how far Miley as Hannah has come since the 20 years ago have begun. Like, there's just so much to unpack, and I'm just feeling so nostalgic. Like, it reminds me of some of those promos that they had with Miley doing the original Disney Channel thing, which is kind of crazy because obviously they haven't been like a super large public network in the way that they were back then in such a long time. And of course, they'll have Selena Gomez to come on and kind of make that nostalgia come back, you know, in a way that maybe even the regular cast couldn't do. And yeah, just the whole song just represents transitioning from This Is the Life to The Climb is so interesting because it's obviously a very deliberate choice to go from a song about like appreciating what you have and everything that's in it to The Climb and talking about like life's like darker sides, like maybe the journey that you've gone on for so long. It's so nice considering that this entire special feels like a journey revisited, and maybe like it's heavy because we're actually seeing how far Miley went in these 20 years to come back to where she is. It's like a very hard thing to do. And going back to my own reunion and being the center of attention, like that would be crazy to me. So it's good that like she actually got to have these like singing moments, and The Climb is so nice. I feel like of all songs, this song was the one that deserved to come back. Like sure, it's like really popular still. That's why they incorporated it, but like it really is a good song, and I feel like just the fact it was in the movie and we're singing it next to the show songs actually gives it time to give credit to the movie too, because the movie was a really big part of the Hannah Montana franchise. Like it took everything from the regular silver screen to the big screen, and I remember being there in 2009 right outside the gates of the movie theaters. It also gives me the vibes of the year earlier when they did the Hannah Montana Best of Both Worlds tour, which was literally half Hannah, half Miley, and they got through so many songs. In a way, I wish just Hannah Montana went on tour more than once or twice when she came out, but hey, like it's a TV show, we can't have time for all that now. Coming back in a really authentic, genuine way, and I just love that Miley seems so in it. Like it feels like this like personal therapy for her, and it's very like nice because it's like, how often do you wish you could go back to a former life, you know, like maybe high school or middle school, or even just like revisit these moments and talk about the themes that like drove you to your success even further down the line. Like Miley has a lot more to be proud of than she did necessarily back at the beginning of Hannah Montana, so there's a lot more fuller of an experience. And as an adult myself, seeing that she learned just as much as I did is like a really nice way to reconnect in a way. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have thought of it that way, but I have. And yeah, it starts off super strong, and we finally get to see the sets. And yeah, this is one of my favorite parts, is the set. We have the main living room of Hannah's house in Malibu. Like, it's just so sweet to see this sitcom-like structure set up. And then we get even a peek into some of Miley's audition. I like that they don't reference the Disney Channel characters in like any of the malicious ways, but it seems like we spend a lot of time on some of the more celebrity versions of these characters. Like, for example, like we see a lot of Taylor Swift because she was a part of the show. Like, of course, Hannah Montana, Selena Gomez being in it, you know, like it just feels like it's trying to communicate fame, and I don't know why that just bothers me so much.
And it was right as High School Musical came out, so Vanessa and Zach were like so famous.
But yeah, like it's nice that these documentaries are also on Disney Plus. Sometimes it just feels like this specific 58-minute special is just to promote the other things on Disney Plus, but I'm gonna try to turn a cheek to that because I'm just so happy Hannah's even back. I can't get ungrateful, you know? But yeah, the music is so good, and then for the final song, they actually have a new original song written by Miley to perform as Hannah. And this is very interesting because it's not taking the nostalgia route and like pulling out from places we've been before or understand, but it's her personal journey now reflecting on Hannah. Something that could probably not be within the first 4 albums. You know, like, you don't get that experience before you have a 20-year anniversary. It usually takes years to, like, fully get the experience needed for this. And the lyrics are very humbling to me because it feels like I am being, like, spoken to as a Hannah fan. And just looking at all the people in the audience wearing these Hannah wigs, watching her on stage. But yeah, great song to end it all. And, you know, with these 6 or 5 full songs that were, like, featured throughout this special, I really wish I had more. And there was hints throughout this entire special of a bunch of different songs that, like, have been remade. Like, Rockstar was featured for a second. We have a little instrumental toward the end. Nothing from Hannah Montana 3, which really breaks my heart. I don't know if you guys saw my video, but I, like, made a whole reflection of the Hannah Montana 3 album. It's my favorite of all time, and I really wish it got some, you know, solidarity here. Is solidarity the word for that? I don't know. But it is, like, clear that she recorded more than a few, and, like, more than a few updated tracks were definitely available. So we're all talking about when on streaming we're going to be able to hear these new things. I'm hoping more than just what's included in the special, because, you know, they could have done so much more. Like, if you get Hannah Montana, like, even in the booth for 15 minutes, I bet you can get, like, 5 songs out of her. You know, just let her do her thing. Don't try to make it perfect. Just, like, make it, like, a live experience. You know what? She's just so good at, like, stepping back into this. It's very, very nice. Seeing all the elements of the show brought into it is probably my favorite part, considering that the sitcom was my life. You know, like, even the songs, when I listened to them, it was about reflecting on the sitcom's lessons and themes. Because, you know, I didn't really have access to Miley Cyrus's personal life outside of the interviews and all the online articles. So, you know, like, there's a personal spot and connection there for me. So seeing Billy Ray be able to be there to talk to her is awesome. Seeing her go through one of the scripts with him, like, with this really sad scene from the Hannah Montana final season. Ugh. The final season is also really good, too. Like, I'm glad we get some representation, because the way they ended it was just as valuable as the way they started it. And yeah, I really love how many times they reference it. Not only in the archival footage, which I do gotta take a quick break. The archival footage, I thought there was gonna be a lot of new footage here. There's only, like, random clips and, like, auditioning stuff, like, nothing that I haven't heard before. So yeah, I was a little disappointed that we couldn't get a little more than a bunch of just little snippets. Like, you could have put, like, 5 minutes together of just, like, empty-aired silence of the cast getting ready. Like, I'm sure Disney has that in the vault somewhere. Them genuinely having, like, a good time of just that moment when it was the 2000s. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they could have did a little bit more in that moment. But hey, I guess sometimes you don't have time for it all, you know? Gary Marsh, who is the creator of the show that we'll also talk about a little bit later, is also here, showing Hannah one of the first emails that made this show possible. Like, look at this. This is so sweet. And yeah, like, seeing that is also really helpful. Getting clips from some of the other Disney Channel shows, like, everything about the channel itself is where I fall in line. And some of the pictures they use and clips from the movie are just so iconic. Oh, and even the fashion we're talking about of the time. Like, I feel like we should have had, like, a whole segment that just talked about 2000s fashion and where Hannah Montana fit into it, because it's just cool. Yeah, Gary Marsh is a really nice guy. Seeing Tish Cyrus, her mom, actually walk her through this is also really sweet. And yeah, just there's so much going on outside the special that make the special itself just as special, I guess. Yeah, that was a stupid way to say it, but everything about this only emphasized its place in time. Let's talk about the cast. This is, like, the weirdest part of the special for me. The only person we get in the main cast is Billy Ray Cyrus. And this wouldn't bother me that much if I didn't see literally Jackson Stewart on the red carpet. Him and Rico were there. Didn't get a lot of pictures of them together. But we got them, the girls who played Amber and Ashley, Jake Ryan, and Miley. And it's just crazy that none of the main cast members, like Oliver and Lily, weren't there. Like, I have a lot of information that shows, like, Emily Osment was clearly working on her new show. You know, she's the lead character in it. Of course, she didn't have time to come do this. But it bothers me that, like, she might have not have even been offered. Like, same thing with Mitchell Musso. Like, he was kicked off Phineas and Ferb for season 5, so it's clear that he's not really trying to be related to the industry, but he has this whole statement online discussing this very scenario. Hannah Montana wrapped around my heart and never really let go. We literally grew up with y'all. Long days, crazy schedules, learning lines, cracked up between takes, and figuring out what life was while the cameras rolled. It taught me many wonderful values, but the most important to me is the laughter that you can get you through the tough days. That confidence still sticks with me every single day. To all of you who grew up right alongside of us, your friends were our friends too. Like my Lily Pop said on her post, so many of you building families of your own and sharing this wonderful story with your kids is a gift beyond words. It's been a coolest part of Hannah Montana. And then he lists every cast and crew member in Disney and says, you have become my family through all the real messy and beautiful moments. Thank you for believing in a goofy kid from Texas who wore some questionable outfits with a haircut like that. To all of you, thank you for welcoming me into your homes and 20 years ago, still allowing me to be here today. I was honored to get to share all of this together. And that's really sweet. I feel like I didn't even realize Lily had a statement. I don't know, it's just really sad that they couldn't have gotten the main cast to be a part of it. And like, you're telling me that they weren't invited? Like, Jackson Rod Stewart has started a podcast called The Best of Both Our Worlds, and it's like him and one of the directors and writers of the show that have been there since the very beginning. And yeah, it's just really exciting to see that everybody is still hype about it. I really wish they got to interview some of these cast members, but it did feel like a solo Miley project. I feel like a lot of counter arguments I see online to this whole scenario, it's more of a reflection on Hannah Montana as the entire IP, you know, not necessarily just the show, just the movie, or even just the albums, just like its cultural impact, how everything affected it all, and yeah, just what Miley went through in order to get back to this place, because it must have been like a 20-year journey for her to feel like she can honorably put back on the wig again, especially since when she first took it off, there was just so much controversy, like, why aren't you being grateful to your Disney roots? And she addresses this in the speech and is like thankful to Disney for everything they did.
And it doesn't stop there. I'm looking out right now in the audience and seeing so many faces that made this possible. Gary, you are kind of responsible even for this dress. Without you, I would never get to wear this dress. Everything in my life is so amazing because Disney took a chance on me. I had no business coming out to LA thinking that I could carry a show or pretend to be a pop star. I had no experience. I had done some theater before. They always made me play a dude because of the husky voice. I played someone's grandpa, like in a little play in Franklin or something.
It's so nice that they can come to a place where they're all like working together again and it's really positive, but I do feel like some of the more important cast members that made this history so important was the ones that were there with her at the time. Having Chappell Roan step in for some of the segments was just kind of weird. Like, I get it. Like, she's almost like the modern day Hannah Montana. She's connections to Hannah Montana's country roots and, you know, make up with you what you will of how to perceive that sentence. It just felt a little out of place, and like, couldn't it have been like anybody else? Like maybe somebody from the time? Well, then again, I guess we do have to talk about Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez played Michaela on the show, and it's just so funny to see them like converse so casually on the set, because it's like, yeah, like they were raised on Disney together. They both had their own shows leading both of them, but Selena was Miley's enemy in the show as this girl named Michaela, and she was on the show with Jake Ryan. She had a couple episodes of just being the general antagonist, and she was doing really good at being like this counterpart that Hannah Montana had to rival with a little bit different intentions. She was just like set out to be an evil character, didn't really have a lot of redeeming moments. If anything, she got worse as time went on, so it's just funny to see her brought back to the stage. Especially considering that Wizards on Deck with Hannah Montana noticeably did not have Hannah and Selena cross on any of the episodes because of all the drama. Sometimes that makes me just allude to this being like a cover-up to the most negative parts of the show. It feels like sometimes Disney is trying to like soften up the reputation that anything could be negative. Which is totally fair. Like, as a cast, of course, they're going to try to do that. You want to protect the legacy, but it's hard to protect the legacy and not see any of the main cast members be a part of this. I wish it was more of, like, reunion renewing ceremony where they had like therapeutic elements of like the cast working together and actually revisiting this stuff, but like with the caring eyes. Like, I don't know why, that just seems like it'd be a lot sweeter to me, like having moments where Hannah Montana and Miley can like connect with these old people again. But I guess that seems like it would be so hard. I don't know, it's just weird because we have her neighbor interviewing her. That could have easily been like Jason Earls or even Billy Ray, for all that matter. I mean, Billy Ray gets his own segment. That's something we could talk about too. Like seeing Ray Cyrus back on the Hannah Montana set, being all friendly with Miley, like it's very sweet and caring. But it's definitely hard for me to wrap my head around it, considering how much drama went on with them for the past like 20 years even. Like, he was not super supportive of her when she made her switch to her new career. So like to think that he's like one of the first people brought back from the cast, I mean, it makes sense. You know, like he was a big part of the casting story, and we'll talk about it a little bit later again, just like how he got involved in the whole Hannah Montana journey. But I don't know, he didn't rightfully earn his place to sit next to her and be supportive of her in this moment. I think it just becomes a little bit more about their family in general and the effects that this entire career had on her family, which actually is kind of refreshing. I feel like it grounds the whole show in a way that like is really protective of Miley, protective of the whole process. It's clear that she like executive produced this because she had to have had a say on how the events would play out. And, you know, the events are in the form of a 58-minute podcast episode. Can you believe that, guys? 58 minutes. You know, we're going to go back to that. But yeah, Billy Ray has been such an important, integral part of the Hannah Montana TV show. Specifically, everything else he was opted out of for like the last 20 years. So I don't see why him, above all the other guest stars or even like main cast members, got a spotlight on the show. I mean, it does add a lot of depth seeing Miley's sisters, having them been on the show. Like, that was really cool. And seeing them like actually look back at their parts. Like, we had a lot of special moments for the sisters, and I really like that, especially since Miley and her sisters and mom are really close, and Miley's mom was definitely a big advocate for her both on and off set since the very beginning, and we can also get into that later. She was so important to Miley being a part of this world, being supportive to how she like gets integrated into it, and she was just very protective of Miley, which she really needed to be, because this whole, you know, LA industry of film and TV is not always the best for a young child. Not only considering that Demi Lovato just had a documentary about being a star, but we're seeing Selena Gomez. Like, a lot of these people were affected long term, and I like to think that they were like treated to come back. And like, I feel like it was a little unfair of Billy Ray Cyrus to make a comment about Jackson. I feel like, dude, Jackson is here at the premiere. You're about to say hi to him, and like, I feel like everything he said relevant to Jackson was somehow turned back to him. Like, he was the one who mentioned all of this. I don't know, something about Billy Ray ever since the show ended gives me a little bit of a diva, and it seems like he's like publicly trying to like turn on Jackson, which is kind of annoying. Like, nobody asked for such bad energy. But hey, you know what? Let's just move on, because it was so small and minimal. It was just fine. But yeah, all around, I wish, you know, more of the characters were involved. Like the interviews, talking to Variety, like Miley hyped up this special so much, and even just the trailers themselves seem more nostalgic than the whole special. I don't know. And I just listened to the Jason Earls Best of Both Our Worlds podcast, and it's really good. So I feel like it's more of that I want to hear about. I want to hear more with people's reactions to the show and like how that kind of changed their lives. Like, I just feel like there's so much more to be told and said. And of course, on the red carpet, when we see all the recurring cast, all the regular cast members coming back, you know, one of the reporters asks Miley if like they're gonna do a reboot, and she's like just barely excited to have done this. Like this was a lot for her to do, but I'm just so happy she like got everything where she wanted it to be. Got everything where she wanted it to be, to like put something out like this and actually get back into the old Hannah Montana roots. Like, it's just so sweet. Really, I'm just happy and grateful they did this at all. They really didn't have to get into all of this, and I was just so grateful they did. And I wish I wish we could have seen our former castmates, but seeing everybody like make a statement or somehow reference Hannah Montana was kind of enough for me to not worry about it too much. There's no huge backstage drama, I mean, aside from Billy Ray's small comments, that like actually drew my attention in to think of this as a bad thing.
Something I wanted to share with you guys is I make a musical that's kind of about the dark side of dual identities like Hannah Montana, but it's with this girl named Victoria Gray, focusing on logic and emotion and what is done in the public eye. You should definitely check that out. But anyway, now that we've seen the special, I do kind of want to talk about the origins of how Hannah Montana even came together before we get offline and start watching the show from the ground up again.
I tried to persuade her not to get in the entertainment industry, and you see how well she listens.
What is it about putting on a blonde wig, living a double life, and singing pop songs with positive affirmations that not only speaks to everybody, but a teenage boy going through middle school like myself? Hannah Montana was more than just duality, it was identity. It was sort of a bridge between femininity and masculinity. I mean, at least for me. If you didn't relate to putting on all the makeup, putting on a wig, and singing for thousands of people, I at least related to the sitcom format of an ABC joke structure that was pretty much my gateway drug to all things Hannah Montana. Not just the TV series that ran for 4 seasons, or the feature film that is probably one of the best movies of all time, or any one of the 4 groundbreaking soundtracks that accompanied each season. None of that. For me, it was the story of it all. It was the idea that you could do more than one thing in life, and the challenge of balancing highs and lows of being a teenager while also jumpstarting a career at such a young age. It almost gives me true Jackson VP vibes, Sunny with a Chance. I mean, Hannah Montana was the first of its kind. Wait, or was it? There's not enough people talking about the Hannah Montana TV show to concert experience online nowadays. I mean, we all talk about Miley and Hannah like separately, but do we really dive into the history of 2006? Not really. Today, I want to uncover all the story-worthy elements of the Hannah Montana upbringing. My name is Johnny 2000s, and I cover everything media related to the 2000s, like movies, TV, music, and so much more. And I've actually done a retrospective on every season of Hannah Montana, but now that it's the 20th anniversary, I'm looking back and I'm kind of embarrassed about those projects because I was still starting out. I was still trying to figure out my video essay format, and this was the first show I did, so it clearly came out the worst. But now that it's the 20th anniversary, now that Jason Earls is creating a Hannah Montana rewatch podcast, now that we even have rumors spread that Miley Cyrus might be coming back as Hannah Montana, I thought, when is a better time to actually revisit more than just the TV show, but the true Hannah Montana experience? And who better to do it than one of her best fans? Not claiming to be the #1 fan, I'm just saying I'm like one of the best. I don't know. The point is, I love Hannah Montana, and I have a lot of information about it. Whether it was watching the interviews with cast members throughout behind-the-scenes videos on the movie, how they made the show, even Disney Channel Games interviews. But most importantly, the stories I've uncovered through podcasts and hearing about the showrunner, Michael Porye's, open up about how all this came to be. We have a lot to uncover, especially with the first 26 episodes of Hannah Montana really making a splash. Like, this show was everything all at once. So let's uncover how 26 episodes of a teen sitcom changed the lives of millions of people forever. Dare I say everybody on Earth? No. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll just say everybody. So let's talk about the inception here. Michael Porye's is the creator of Hannah Montana. If we backtrack a little bit, he started out with Disney Channel on That's So Raven. And this is back when Disney Channel wasn't necessarily known for its live-action sitcoms. They were really known for their musical films, their animated musicals. Like, they already had an identity, and they were showing early signs of wanting to create a sitcom world such as Nickelodeon had at the time, with the success of, like, Drake and Josh on Fabulous, whatever was going on in the 2000s at Nickelodeon. Disney wanted a piece of that action, and that's where Michael Porriez came in. With That's So Raven being one of the first successes of Disney Channel, Michael Porriez had a spotlight on him to create something even better. That's So Raven almost lived on its own without Michael Porriez after the first season. Like, once they got casted, got Raven-Symoné involved, found the structure for the show, he didn't really need to be as involved in it. In fact, he moved over to an entirely different show. I want to start out by saying, like, I found this article on Rolling Stone about how the Lizzie McGuire show inspired Hannah Montana. And this article is more so explaining, hey, that's not true, that never happened. Michael Porriez wasn't really involved with Lizzie McGuire. Sure, they found things that worked about that kind of show, but that was more on the Disney executives' side to have a catalog of what worked and what didn't work. So Michael Porriez had more of a mold he got to create with the Play-Doh of teen pop sensation. And nothing started out the way we intended in this. For me, when I hear all these stories, I feel like the most pivotal moment is when they casted Miley in the series.
I used to, like, go to work with him all the time, and now it's like he's going to work with me, which is really weird. It's like...
Originally, something happened with Raven-Symoné for That's So Raven, where it was apparently going to be called Actually Psychic, or something with that nature, but Raven's character actually came in and completely rewrote the show. It wasn't even going to be a black family to begin with. But that identity became what the show became, and that's exactly what the success of Hannah Montana did too. Originally, this show was actually going to be about a girl from New York. Her whole issue was she was shy in real life, but a pop star at night, showing the exact contrasting elements. But obviously you need to have friends when you're going to school, so they threw in Lily and Oliver, making it a more rounded out girl with a personality. Miley wasn't known for her acting right off the bat. It was something about her authenticity and realness of being this girl that Miley Stewart really was. Inspiring more than just the writers and the script, but inspiring the entire experience. She was so mesmerizing at the time, they just said that they could not keep their eyes off of her. There was something about Miley that was so drawing. And he actually says something in the podcast that's really sweet, that, like, she was shy in real life. She was also jumping between her home in Tennessee, going to school, and auditioning for this part. They actually had to be really patient with her and keep putting the show on pause to try to figure out the chemistry between her and the series. It wasn't supposed to incorporate Billy Ray Cyrus. I don't think they even had a adult character that was also famous related to the show. It was just supposed to be about Miley. All of that was just an interesting bonus when Miley started to support her trips to LA and, like, actually help her make this role happen. Disney Channel had to be in close contact with Billy Ray to even see if he would be interested in being involved at all.
I want my money back.
I mean, Miley had so many siblings at the time, so it's not like he didn't have his hands full with other people, but Miley was definitely taking all the attention because of this. Billy Ray Cyrus's plan at the time of the start of Hannah Montana was cut an album, do a tour, and then retire, which this entire thing would throw that off course. Cyrus received the script for the pilot before auditioning for Hannah Montana over the course of like 6 to 7 months. The creators weren't just Michael Porriez, it was also some guy named Rich Correll and Barry O'Brien. They both looked in Los Angeles and New York for somebody to play Hannah, but really couldn't find anybody until they saw Cyrus's audition tape. But while the creators were impressed, they definitely weren't convinced, and like the fact that she was a 12-year-old girl with no acting experience, that was definitely a red flag for them. So they just kept looking and looking to find another actor for Hannah. And I remember hearing a famous story that Trina Vega, as in Daniela Monet, was going to be one of the really close calls, especially since she was older than Miley Cyrus, who was 12 at the time. It seemed like more likely they would go with her. especially since Daniela Monet had so much more sitcom experience. Like, it made so much more sense. The room was pretty evenly split between Miley and Daniela, and they inevitably made the decision to go with Miley Cyrus. Who led that decision? Gary Marsh. Gary Marsh needs a quick recap because he was pretty important to the whole development of all of this. He joined Disney Channel in 1988 as an executive director of original programming, pretty much inventing the mold that we saw in 2000. He was made the vice president 8 months after, and then in 1994 he was the senior vice president. Back when it hit 2000, Marsh assumed the role of executive vice president of original programming and production at Disney. In 2005, he was promoted the president of entertainment across Disney Channel worldwide. Now, this man also allowed Lizzie McGuire to happen, so he was probably the creative head that supported Hannah Montana the most.
You can listen to the music that goes with your mood.
I got everything I've always wanted.
If you've seen other YouTube videos, I feel like he was the sole responsible one for almost creating the pop star and actor mold that they knew Disney Channel so much for later. Like, Nickelodeon never quite got as far. Like Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, like, they really made that their thing. Something really interesting is that originally Gary Marsh offered the role of Hannah Montana to Allie and AJ, more so trying to get them to both be Miley and Lily, which is crazy to think about. Imagine how the show would have went that way. Something really cool when I was doing research is in 2007 they did an article called Getting to Know Jason Earls in 17 magazine, and they actually like got his star sign, his birthplace, and oh my gosh, he's like known for American Pie band camp at the time. Always a weird choice to be played by Jason Earls because of how much older he was. It's just so hard because he looked like a teenager. None of us really batted an eye or even cared at the time.
Was boyish for like 35 years,
Yeah.
and then I woke up one day and I was like,
career on
the
it.
frick happened to you, bro?
This article is barely worth mentioning because it's just a lot of him personally, but it really shows what was going on at the time. Like, his most prized possession was his PlayStation 3, and his TV screen was 42 inches of gaming, which, by the way, is like an iPod screen now. You know, now that I think about it, there should be a bunch of topics we should lay on the table that I don't want to talk about. One is Miley's relationship with Billy Ray Cyrus. In short, like, they had a really tumultuous relationship as the show progressed and their responsibilities. Miley's growing up into figuring out who she wants to be as a pop star. That was a very complicated relationship that we don't really need to get into. Miley's relationship with Hannah Montana, there was a long period of time where she seemed like a little bit ashamed of it, didn't like to talk about it, was more so trying to figure out her identity in the acting universe and the singing universe. Give her a break on that one.
Because who you are and what you know and what you understand and what you feel is completely different.
Those are the topics I feel like people talk about to death. So I just kind of wanted to talk about the sitcom itself, especially since I'm a big 2000s nostalgia fan. So for Billy Ray Cyrus, his inclusion was really interesting because, you know, he wasn't supposed to be a part of it until they saw that, like, he brought Miley to the place she needed to go acting-wise. You know, it was her actual father, so it was a lot easier for her to appear authentic in that scenario. And that's what Disney was really enjoying about putting this together. They were even hesitant about Billy Ray taking the part. They weren't even sure if they could have him act.
Right.
He's not going to be able to act, you know, and we said, sure, delighted. And he came in, and to our surprise, absolutely nailed it.
Wow.
But even more than that, he got Miley from here to here.
Oh, right.
Because you can't buy that chemistry.
The whole point was that, like, he was just so right for the character. Something really cool I never knew was they had, like, a premiere private screening for Disney Channel people, and I heard it on the Magical Rewind podcast that the girl Sabrina Bryan from the Cheetah Girls saw Miley Cyrus in this show and was just like flabbergasted. Everybody was so excited about it right as it premiered, which is so cool to think about the energy being the same way it is today.
I was at the upfronts when Hannah Montana got introduced to, you know, the industry and the world. And I mean, it was the energy of everyone, Gary Marsh, every single person that was there from everyone was so amped.
So this series was super successful, with the first season pulling in 26 episodes, which in today's retrospect is like 50 episodes. Like, that is crazy to think they did 26 half-hour episodes, and it was like the course of like, what, a year and a half? Like, oh my gosh, they must have never gotten sleep. It went on from 2006 to 2007, from March to March, and then they got picked up for a second season of literally 30 episodes. Yeah, kids TV worked differently, guys, probably because of like the kids actors. They would grow up super quickly, so they'd only really be able to get the amount of childhood that matched the years they were living. I don't know.
Hannah Montana Freshman High Five. 5 nights of all new episodes from an all new high school.
Yeah, then 30 episodes from April 2007 to October 2008, and then 2008 to 2010, they had 30 more episodes from season 3, and this is when the movie came into play in 2009. It was really cool how like they still continued to produce the show, which is insane to me, but whatever. And then they got out a 4th season out of it with only 13 episodes, but these ones were really prominent. If you saw my 4th season retrospective, they really milked all these episodes, but in a good way. Like, they gave every character a couple arcs that would really round out where they started from in the first season. The point is, it's like a very full experience. So if you're getting into Hannah Montana for the first time, even today, you won't regret it. You'll have a full circle experience by the end. So yeah, 98 episodes total. I got a lot of more fun stories in between, but obviously those are for the individual season retrospectives. You could check that out. The first season is truly where it all started. I remember even one of the interviews with Miley, she was saying that they weren't finished filming the first season even when the first couple episodes premiered, and it was an immediate hit. So they knew right through, in between set life, that this was going to be awesome, with everybody starting to get on the bandwagon right away. It's like getting a YouTube video at 1 out of 10, if you guys know what that means. The main 5 characters, Miley, Lily, Oliver, Jackson, and Robbie Ray, were the only people to be in all 26 episodes. They were really trying to make sure that this would be perfect for these specific characters, with a couple more that would later become in a lot more episodes coming up.
Somebody knows I'm Hannah Montana.
Amber and Ashley, the 2 popular girls at the school that make a bunch of appearances, they show up in like 10 episodes throughout the first season of Hannah Montana, which is crazy because Moises Arias, who plays Rico, was only in 6 out of 26 of them. What in the world? We also get introduced to Jake Ryan, who takes up 4 episodes out of these 26. Andre Kinney, who plays Cooper, is in 6 out of 26 episodes, playing Jackson's friend in the first season, which, by the way, he does not come back after the first season, which is depressing. And we also got Frances Callier as Roxy, 4 episodes, which I wish she had so much more than that. We got Tracy Van Horn in this too. She was only in 3 episodes of the 26 in the first season, but that was still enough to make a big impression. Same with Mr. Corelli, who's in the show up until the very last season, pretty much. His name's Greg Baker, and he's on a bunch of other Disney shows, so seeing him a part of this wasn't super surprising. We got Mr. Donzig, the main character's neighbors. He was in about 3 episodes of the 26, and yeah, there was a lot to be established with just these main characters. So thank you guys so much for watching, and enjoy the 20th Hannah Montana anniversary. This is Johnny 2000 signing off.